the successful screening of 45 ministers about 85 days after Tinubu's inauguration, the ministers have resumed their responsibility with various outlines for the development and also the growth of the nation. Good afternoon. Welcome to Nigeria Now on Echo Television International, where we keep you up to date what is happening. Looking at issues of Nigeria, even from human affairs, looking at security, and many more. But today we will actually be focusing on the ministers and also a little chat on what actually looking at the 5 billion that have been given to 36 states, including the FCT, and also about 185 trucks of grains to be shared. So I will not be doing this alone. I have with me Rachel Tanzania. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Afternoon, sir.
Well, it seems as if we are taking a leap from the dailies and then coming down to Nigeria Now. And before we move into the looking at the like what I say, looking at the ministers resuming their responsibility, I think it will be important to go a little bit back to looking at the palliative.
Yes.
You know, when you hear the word palliative, then your mind will go to COVID. I don't know why, but mostly it's being given to when people are in distress.
Yes.
There's maybe an outbreak and something like that, and people cannot have access to this. So this is when we see the government stepping in, provide alternative, looking at how they can cushion the effect of whatever is happening there. And then we're having something, and we cannot overemphasize the importance of the hardship of Nigerians at a time like this, where a lot of Nigerians are going through a lot. In fact, right now, it seems the top thing on the agenda that the government needs to handle is hunger, because a lot of people are actually very, very hungry. And I think that is why the federal government felt that it is important that they start with actually sharing the grains. A lot of people are coming out with concerns with the fact that would these grains reach every Nigerian?
Not.
People are looking at even the 5 billion naira. Rachel, will you and I be able to get this money? You know, a lot of people are saying, even if it's just 100,000, everybody will get. Maybe looking at the population of every state. Of course, we know that the population is not equal in every state. Some states are actually having a higher number compared to others. But then, irrespective of the numbers, everybody is hungry, and it's important that the government step in. Now we've seen that they have stepped into giving these grains and then also the money. Now, Rachel, in looking in all totality and in all honesty, are we going to say these grains will actually reach every household in Nigeria?
So like the palliatives, right, that we're giving for COVID-19 is way more than what it's been given by the federal government of Nigeria, and everybody didn't get it. So how will everybody get these grains? It's impossible. It's impossible not because the government won't share it, right, but because the quantity on its own makes it impossible for it to get to everybody. One factor is for sure that there could be government hoarding, people, committees put in place to share these rights could. There's no doubt about that could be a contributing factor to why it don't get to people. But when it comes to the quantity of this rice, as it is, Sele, it is impossible to reach a population of even 1 million people, talking about of 2 million, 3 million, 4 million people. And we keep saying it, what is the formula that the government used for sharing in an area or in a population, rather, that you know that every state is not the same? It is not logical that Kano State, for instance, is getting 5 trucks of rice also. It's not logical that Nasarawa State is getting 5 trucks of rice as the same as Kano and any other populated state in Nigeria than the other. Of course, we know there are different sizes. And the same also applies to these 5 billion we're talking about in Naira, in cash, which the federal government have decided to divide it for loans and grants, which I don't understand the rationale behind that, because this is a palliative. What is the measure behind dividing it into 2 and all of that? So yes, because of the factors around it, so like we don't have to do the maths, okay? We already know in a truck at most 600 bags of rice, five 5 trucks, we are talking about at most 3,000 bags of rice. And to be on a safe side, if we say 3,000 times 33 measures of rice in a bag, sometimes we say 37, but to be safe, it's never above those 33, 35, 37. We leave it at 33. If you do the calculation of how many measures of rice we will get in that 3,000 bag, it won't even get up to 1,000,000. One measure to one person. It won't be up to that amount if we are going to do the maths like that. So what Nigerians need, Sele, is we need what will happen. I've said it and I'll still repeat it, that 500 billion will reach more people than 185 million. But for some reason, the government decided to scrap that out and go for 180. Plus the FCT, now we're looking at 185. But what do we need? Don't you think we need better policies that within a short period of time, we can see that our currency is gaining value? Within a period of time, whether the fuel pump price likes it or not, it will go down because our currency is gaining value. Before, whether the market likes it or not, because our currency is getting value, we will see inflation stabilized, rather, or even possibly our prices of goods going down. Now, the government, I keep saying, Nigeria has the resources to do all of these things because you can't float a weak currency. And that is what the CBN and the presidency have done. So why won't you do what Nigerians need than giving them the stipends that you know will not go around? When we are talking about a population of 133 million that are living in poverty. And don't forget that this subsidy removal have added more millions into this poverty cycle. So what the government is dishing out to us, is it logical? Because even if, you're not wrong, Sele, if COVID-19 keeps coming to you, because what was given out during the COVID was much more than what is given. And yet, how many people saw it? How many people saw it? Talk more of what we are having now is not up to the relief materials, the palliative that we're giving, because there was global intervention. So the aids that were coming to the country was not just from the account of the government. We had international bodies sending in money to the country, sending in palliatives, and nobody saw them. Talk more of now that we are talking about the Nigerian government making their way around, instead of going for which will benefit the most, decided to go for an option that wouldn't benefit people more in the country. So I mean, the government knows what to sell. We'll keep talking and we hope that our voices get to be heard. Yes, concerning this palliative.
You know, when I was just looking at the 5 billion, we know that it's divided into two. I think 2.6 is actually the grants given by the federal government, and 2.4 is the loan which the state will eventually have to pay. We already know that a lot of states presently are already running on deficit. They are having debts coming from individuals, coming from banks, and then the likes of it. And you know, you raise the concern, you say, why not the money rather than the grains? But Rachel, let's not forget that even if the money is being given to Nigerians, we have our sellers in the market that have heard that more money has been given, and then of course there will be a hike in prices, goods and services. But then regardless of that, I think this will be left to the government to look into what can be done, better ways to share that money, because I do not know what is the math behind how the money will be shared to Nigerians. Of course, I believe that the government already have the BVN of everybody, so we hope to hear that a lot of individuals.
I hope they have my BVN.
I just hope, Rachel, they will drop it. Let's just be optimistic about that.
Yes.
Now let's look at our basic, looking at not really our basic, let's look at the primary thing we want to look at today, which is looking at our ministers have resumed their responsibilities.
They have.
Please, our viewers, you can drop your comment on our Facebook and our YouTube, and then just so that you not be left out on the conversation on this topic. Now, our ministers, I think, just like I said from my opening, it's already almost 85 days since the president, and then it was ideal that in a stipulated time, he should have his ministers that will actually help him run various ministries. And it is right now, it seems as if everything is set and the ball is rolling. The cabinet is safe, it's already set right now. Our senators, they are on seat, the reps, are on seat.
Everybody
Now our ministers are on
on
seat.
seat,
So
true.
everybody should start
Should
working.
start
Now, a
working.
lot of concerns Nigerians have. Of course, I remember from last week when the portfolios dropped, a lot of people were actually analyzing, and they were like, kind of, some of the portfolios did not really match some of the area of specialty
Yeah.
of some of these ministers, because you tend to look at somebody who likely maybe was a barrister and then is heading a ministry like an aviation ministry, and then you
Yes.
wonder what logic, how logical is
What
that
is
for
the
you to
logic?
be able to
Yes.
head such a ministry. And a lot of concerns are coming out. Of course, we saw promises coming from the various ministers. I mean, I'm not surprised. This is not the first time we're having ministers promising us they will do this. But beyond words, Nigerians have always hoped that their body language will tell,
Yes.
because it's not about the talk, it's
It's
about the work we see you
results.
putting in place. Now, looking at their resume, looking at all they have done, I think, Rachel, it is important for us to kind of dissect it
We have to see.
and let us see that, do they really have what it takes to run Nigeria the way it is? Because I'm coming from that point where we remember the past administration, where we had various ministers coming out to say the ministry given to them to head, they did little or nothing there. Why? Because they did not know how to do it, or a lot of responsibility was not
Yeah.
given to them. And then we're going to even say the fact that a part of these ministers were having people who were one-time governors.
They were,
Now let's
yes.
take a look at, how do you rule?
How did
When
you
you
rule?
were a governor, did you govern well? And can Nigerians trust and believe that right now this ministry that has been given to you, you're going to hold this ministry with all diligence,
yeah.
with all integrity, without any ethnicity? Because of course the president told them that you are not a president, you are not, sorry, you're not a minister to your state, you're a minister to Nigerians. So quite a lot were they going to look at the issue of these ministers, their portfolio, and a lot of things.
Yeah. Like Sele, for me personally, there has been a lot of like misplacement of ministers in office based on their track record and their portfolio. And by portfolio, I mean a record of what they've done in the past previously. And I picked a few that is dear to my heart, and I mean it's dear to every Nigerian, because security, for example, is at
Very
its
paramount.
peak. It is paramount for us in Nigeria. And then I look at the Minister of Defense. This is somebody who is going to head the Ministry of Defense in the country, the defense headquarters, and all of that. And this ministry has the power of aiding the armed forces of the country. And Sele, I believe that we have a minister that will learn on the job. And if we will tell ourselves the truth, we don't need somebody learning on the job when it comes to insecurity. We need someone that will go head on, take the bull by its horn, and fight insecurity, aligning with the armed forces of the country, Navy, Air Force, military, and all of that. Now, when you look at the current minister of that's but the Minister of Defense, Badaru, was the former governor of Jigawa State. And Sele, in as much as he was a successful governor, I'd like to say Jigawa was a very peaceful state as at the time he was there. So he wasn't in the position to fight insecurity. Now, I'd have been more comfortable if the presidency have to go for a governor, maybe the governor of Borno State, because we'll say this person was a governor at the peak of Boko Haram. How were you able to keep certain areas safe, and how, together with the federal government, with the military, I believe this wasn't a fight for one man, and how were you, together with the past administration, able to bring Boko Haram to the level as it is now, where the past administration, President Buhari, said there is no longer Boko Haram and all of that, in as much as we kept on seeing insurgency taking on new face.
Yeah.
However, there was a victory at that level at that time. I would have been more comfortable with a governor that had that kind of past record. But we are now being put in a position where, whether we like it or not, for administration, yes, this could be a good governor, but for insecurity, this person has to learn on the job. And whether we like it or not, this is going to slow down everything, because you are in a ministry that you need to aid these armed forces, whether we like it or not. Experience is important, expertise is important, what you know, your knowledge, together with the knowledge of every other person that will be under your ministry, is important. Now you will have to work with what you are being fed as information, not what you already know from the beginning. Before, as time goes on, you will catch up and be able to know. But then with the way Nigeria is as it is now, Sele, we don't need somebody catching up when it comes to insecurity, because it has taken new forms every single day. Maybe now with kidnappers, we don't know what will wake up tomorrow and the new name of people
will be, because they keep changing names.
It keeps changing them. The strategy keeps changing, and everything keeps changing. So we don't need somebody playing catch up when it comes to defense in the country, but somebody that has been in it already. So I think for defense, for one, I see politics being played here, because I would have been more comfortable with a general somewhere heading the ministry, because when you look at the first minister of defense in this country was actually someone from the armed forces. Exactly. So why are we not keeping up with that anymore in the country? Have we lost our vision or the purpose for why this ministry was
set up in the first place?
Exactly. Yes.
You know, Rachel, you're really correct in all totality. I mean, I really agree with you in a lot of ways, because you make mention that defense is something very, very important, and this is one. Are you going to look at the issue of even the Ministry of Education?
Yeah.
I mean, today on the papers we were looking at the fact that a lot of ministers have come out with a lots of power, vigor. We're ready to fight this. We're ready to give in our best. But just like I said, it's beyond words. Now we've seen that Umahi already went on the road to check, to be sure that as a minister of works, let me see
what
are people working. He said he's a field man. He's not an office person, so he will be on the field working, giving his best. But then it's not just about you working. Right now, Rachel, you raised a concern. You said you see politics at play here. And believe you me, right now, we are way past that of politics. We keep saying we need to divide as a country. We need to divide politics from policies. Because one thing I always believe is the fact that as Nigerians, if you say that politics is not your concern, the policies that will be said by these people will affect you one way or the other. Yes. Of course, Nigerians don't have the right to, choose who their ministers will be. I mean, we saw the like of Wike saying that the PDP submitted over 10 ministers coming from that party. But then he happens to be the only PDP.
He happened to be the only one.
Part of the ministers in all of that thing. But what are we saying? That Nigeria is not about politics. Right now, if you want to rule this country, it's not about which party you belong to. Because believe you me, if Wike is going to be the minister of FCT, he's not a minister to the people of Rivers State anymore. In as much as, yes, looking at his portfolio, they would say that, yes, he's a very, dogged man, looking at the fact that he ruled Rivers, and then he did not close a blind eye to the issue of illegal miners. He was leading. He didn't send anybody. We always saw him on the forefront leading all of this thing. But how is he going to relate it? Already we've seen that he's saying that he's going to demolish a lot of slums. We've seen that. Unlike the FCT, we all knew then that was peaceful. You hardly see cattle roaming around as if they do not have anybody. We've seen that over the years, the FCT have lost its glory. A lot of slums are springing up left, right, and center. There is no bloom mark any longer. I mean, there was a landmark on how things are supposed to be, but it seems as if nobody even knows where it is anymore. So people just build the way they feel like building. And he said he is ready to step on toes. But then, yes, people can say somebody like Wike can do that because we saw the way he did in Rivers State. But can we say that for many other ministers? Can we say that Lalong, as the governor of Plateau State before, will be able to lead the Ministry of Labor and Employment? He said decent employment. Can we vouch and say that, yes, when you go there, we're hoping to see decent employment? Or are we talk about that of Betty, who, yes, you are the APC, and she happens to be the youngest minister, looking at running at the age of roughly not up to 35 years, so to say, she's not up to 40.
Yes.
So it's still a youth. And then we've seen promises coming that you are promising about 133 million Nigerians to be out of poverty.
Out of poverty.
It's beyond words.
It is beyond words.
Because we've seen the figures. Figures do not lie. The numbers are there. More and more Nigerians are being pushed into poverty every day.
Yeah.
How do you hope to achieve that? We would cast our mind back to who the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs was then. We saw the way things where a lot of money was being disbursed there, but we can't even give account. That ministry cannot even say this is the one that was being given. We channel this to here. Apart from the school feeding, Rachel, what else do you know about the humanitarian affair? How many students can actually beat their chest and say, at the primary level, we got to eat a decent meal? You need to take a look then what the feeding. You will even cry for these kids when they eat because the food is nothing to write home about. How much do you budget for every child's meal? So beyond just telling us you want to do this, we want to see numbers and figures. Accountability are what is what Nigerians are hoping to see. That you will not just come out and say, I will do this, I will do that, but let us see you doing it. We remember what happened in the Ministry of Education then. As to strike, the former minister walked out on the students.
Yes.
And that called for a lot of chaos
It did.
then. Are you saying that we do not even guarantee, or you cannot even guarantee us that when we go to our session institution, as it is presently, Rachel, they said the back and forth on increase of tuition fee. How are you hoping to step in? By September, we're looking at the student loan. How are you going to do that? So beyond just, we should not go for health tourism anymore. Beyond saying, what are you hoping to do that? So it's not just talking. I mean, Nigerians are sick and tired of words coming from our politicians, because over the years they forget the people who got them to that position, and then they are focused on my tribe, looking at my religion. Are you a Christian? Are you a Muslim? Nigeria belongs to everybody eventually. So we're hoping to see these ministers, not just talking. Their portfolio, just like you raised the concern. We hope that if you say that you can do this, then we should see you doing it. If you say you can lead the health, let us see you doing it. Don't just give us your words. But Nigerians, believe you me, Nigerians have way past then when they will give you so much of time. A time will come when Nigerians will raise their voice and say, this minister, we have lost confidence. Come back home.
Like, Sele, when it comes to the FCT and we said Nigeria is for all, is one place that really proves that Nigeria is for all. This is the Federal Capital Territory we're talking about in specific. So you are supposed to create a conducive environment that everybody can live in it. Now the question is not demolition slums, for example. Why do we have slums in Abuja? What are you doing to take away those slums? See, going to send those people away from there will only make them migrate to another place.
And then create another slum.
And create another slum, exactly. But you are supposed to give solution. You are supposed to give solution to what will stop this slum from happening. I keep saying I'm looking forward to a synergy where you as a minister, you are uniting with the state governor. We're looking at how from Maraba, Masaka to Yanya, these places are not conducive. And these are the major roads leading to the FCT. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about that? Because you know what, this is very important. What is the plan you're having? I think we should grow past where the FCT is all about demolishing houses and X, that and that. It's about making life conducive for the people. That is what should be your priority as a minister, not trying to say you will step on toes and a lot of people won't find it easy. That is a problem. We cannot take that out of the picture. But what is the solution to the slums that have become a problem to you? If you had days to think, this have been my portfolio for being a minister, and I have days to think, you are already in that position. It's not a campaign. Nobody will steal your idea. We expect you to come to your inauguration or swearing in with solution. Not the boss mentality of how you plan on stepping on people's toes, but how as a minister you plan on making people's life better. And 133 out of poverty, like, I mean, girl, she have to say what and how, what type of poverty is she planning on taking Nigerians out of? Because we have multi-dimensional poverty in the country. So this 133, you have to be more precise. What kind of poverty are you taking these people out? And then how do you plan on working with the Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Employment, Ministry of this and that, state, housing, and all of that, because a lot of these poor people are living under bridges, are living in slums and all of that. Are you giving them house? Is that the poverty you're trying to tackle? Is it education? How do you plan on educating these people? Is it what's the other one? Is it job? How do you plan? That's what I said.
Acquisition, however.
It's high time we stop having ministers that feel is a one ministry thing. Because you know what, for all of your plan, you need one ministry or another to make
synergy.
that. So why don't we have speech of ministers that have already started down and started planning on how they are going to collaborate
together
and make Nigeria better? Because that's the only way you will not serve just one region or state or ethnicity, but in an entire country
together.
Exactly.
Richard, I just want us to see a brief look at the portfolios of the some of the few ministers.
Yes.
You know, we already raised the concern about some people not being qualified. Like the first one here, we have the Minister of Art, Culture and the Creative Economy, where we are saying Hannatu Musawa. Well, we hope that she'll be able to head that. And then like that dear one, very dear to your heart, we've seen the Minister of Defense there, the Mohammed Baduru, which is the former governor of Jigawa State.
Yes.
Also, I think we're also looking at another ministry that is very important, the Ministry of Education. Very, very dear to my heart also. And then we're seeing there a lot of portfolios. And when you take a look at these people, you will know that at one point or the other, will they be able to match up with what is given to them?
So.
Because I think the concern Nigerians have is not just this, you do this. But then are we sure they're doing it? So I'm hoping that Kenyamo will not come out to complain right now.
Talking about aerospace technology.
Well, I hope that as aviation, he knows what he's going to do. And I hope that he'll be ready to take that up. You know, this is the concern Nigerians are having. Right now, the president have already told them, no excuses.
No excuses.
He will be following up on his cabinet, and he hope that all of the things he have listed on his, looking at his manifestos, when he was looking for presidential election, they will be able to help him achieve that. Well, Rachel, our time is really, really fast spent, and I hope we will talk more, but I hope we'll just draw the curtain here. And thank you, our viewers, for keeping it with us on Nigeria Night. It was quite interesting, and we hope that you'll join us again tomorrow as we look at another touching topic. Until we come your way again, do take care of yourself.